Hey man, how's it going?
So freaking cold in my room, man. Like I like wearing shorts at home just because it's comfy. I got hip movement. I can lunge
Sure,
if I need to lunge. Kind of irking me, but I'm warm, but my knees are cold. How about you?
sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm partly working, partly not working, so I'm kind of still in my work attire, and it's comfortable for me, but I don't have as much freedom as shorts would. So I do
You
kind
don't
of
have
miss that.
the
Yeah,
hip and knee flexibility that
I
shorts
do
provide.
not. I do not, unfortunately, but it's all good. It's all good. But yeah,
But
welcome
speaking of
back.
cold, ho
Yeah,
ho
ho ho
ho,
ho. Yeah,
we're on the
welcome back,
Christmas
everyone.
episode.
Yeah, welcome back, everyone. And yeah, if it is the day that you are listening, that would be the day you're listening. Merry Christmas to all and happy holidays. Welcome back to Bite My Shiny
2024
Metal
can go eat a
Cast.
dick.
Some of us had better years than others, but yeah, no, this was it's nice to have this done. So yeah, it's this Futurama review show that Mitchell and I talk about all things Futurama. This time, of course, we're talking about episode two, Tale of Two Santas of season four. So great little holiday episode. So if you're interested, please like and subscribe. It's all great. But
Timing worked out too.
it was perfect timing. This is incredible timing, especially for so that probably means if they did do week by week back in the day, this is last week is probably the first episodes like on the Wednesday. That was probably that episode when it came out around that time, or at least like the first like during the month of December when the first episode, if they did it this way. But yeah. But yeah, let's get right into it. So this episode begins off our title caption. This episode performed entirely by sock puppets. I don't know why. That kind of creeps me out. So yeah, it's an opening on the Christmas season at Planet Express, and yeah, they're all hanging out. Some of them are hanging out, watching the news. Morbo and Linda, and I think they talk about something about like a what is that? Like a river of
A polar bear club, where people, where
yeah,
generally
yeah,
old
they're jumping
men
in. What are they
jump
jumping
into
into? It's in
frigid
like
cold river. But in this case, it's methane,
methane,
ammonia,
right?
ammonia,
Pneumonia. And yeah, they're jumping. Of course, they don't come up
because it's
because it
liquid
would.
ammonia. It's
So
that
they
that is
just
one
die.
of the.
And Morbo's line of just like,
There were
and there were
no
no
survivors.
survivors is
Good luck to them.
just like what a way to open up a Christmas episode. So it's pretty funny. In any case, during this news segment, they're also reminded, of course, of by Walter Cronkite's head, some speaker back in the day. They're reminded by him that Santa is feared, and they're referencing, of course, the events of the previous Christmas episode of Futurama, like Xmas Story, which I think was way back in was that season two, right? They haven't done a Christmas episode. They didn't do a Christmas episode in season three. So Santa is, of course, a robot in this universe, and he's relatively evil because he judges everybody to be naughty, not nice at all, except for one person that we ever saw, and that was Zoidberg. But everybody else is clearly naughty somewhere along the line. So he just comes to Earth and he basically just wreaks havoc. So in order to do this, the professor has Santa-proofed the HQ, making it basically bulletproof across the whole area. Um, However, as everybody's cheering that they get to be protected in the HQ, the professor decides to send the trio on a delivery, obviously, because they're a delivery company, and will send them to get letters or give letters to Santa Claus on his home base, which I believe is on Neptune, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken, like the
yeah,
North Pole of Neptune.
yeah. Elzar's planet.
Elzar's planet, right? Because we get to, even though he's a bit taller, but I guess that's because they don't.
They did mention it because they are
They do mention it, right?
malnutritious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that
Which
makes
is
more
one of those
sense now.
reasons
Yeah.
why Asian people back in like the 40s up to like maybe the early 2000s were relatively short just because nutrition wasn't available like it was here. Eat your
Is that
greens, kids.
is that not also like a genetic thing as well? That
Yeah,
some areas of the
yeah,
world are shorter in general.
yeah. But if you go over there now, there's a lot of people around our generation who are taller than the average beforehand, and maybe that might be just a genetic thing too, because like, I'm taller than my parents, you're taller than your parents, right?
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Some things have changed, and there's also like different things in foods, like
Yeah.
hormones and whatever.
Oh
So that's
yeah,
true.
yeah, yeah.
That's true.
That's scary stuff.
Yeah. So the three of them, obviously, they're not happy about it, but they leave for
No.
Santa's North Pole on Neptune, and they're reading some of these letters. I have to tell you that like I forgot about this scene when they're like reading them. It's like, oh, please, can you like not bring me anything or not or, like bring me something to help me with my pain when you sent me that bike last year. It
Yeah,
caused my innards to be like destroyed. And bring a coffee
they're
for
still messed
Grandpa.
up. Yeah, because he's starting to smell a lot like Xmas.
Christmas
if you know
or
what I
Xmas,
mean.
right? Yeah. So I thought that's pretty funny actually. So they arrive and are greeted by the Neptunians, who are essentially like the working elves, and they're quite
Yeah,
small, similar
yeah.
to what Santa's elves would be. But yes, they are. I didn't realize this, so thank you for bringing this up. Yeah, they're the same race as elves are, but due to the fact that Santa doesn't do anything anymore because he judges everybody to be naughty, there's no
They don't
need to
make
make any
toys.
toys.
Yeah.
So the factory's been closed, and I guess that was a working wage for them back in the day. So like they're in poverty, there's crime, drinking, horrible, horrible things. Like they're just malnourished, all this stuff. So the
I
elves
do
are
love the
like, yeah,
reactions from like, hey, I'll let you punch me for $1, and then like the guy grabs Fry's hands and kind of makes him hit him. He's like,
smacks
you
him
owe
in
me
the face.
$1. There's a lot of people that like Fry gets in a fight with over just $1 for some reason.
That's true. Yeah, right. And Fry, Fry sometimes deserves it. It happens, but yeah. But
Also,
yes,
the fact that you guys live in a gingerbread house, like, hey, it's either a shelter or food. You can't,
yes,
you gotta pick.
that's right. That's how horrible the conditions are, and they have like kids and such, and all this unfortunate situation, all these unfortunate situations. So Fry wants, because he's seeing all this stuff, and of course Fry's from the past, so he's like, oh, I really want Xmas to be what I remember. Like we should do something. We should say something, and they're able to convince two of the Neptunians, or at least one of them, because they have this, like Elzar doesn't do this. So
Symbiosis. Yeah, it's like a
well,
weird symbiosis because yeah,
yeah,
Elzar doesn't hold hands with two hands with
yeah,
the other
other
Neptunian.
Neptunians, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's a kind of like a codependency that's on Neptune or something, or because Elzar lives on Earth and therefore is more so like accustomed to Earth standards, he doesn't do it. I don't know. I don't know. They get too much into it, but whatever the case.
I'm trying to think of another time we see a Neptunian.
There's only
Neptunian.
one time Neptunian. There's only one other time I can remember, and that's like it was a porn thing.
Oh, there
It was
was
like
that one,
illegal.
yes.
There's
Yes,
that
and
one,
there was
and they're both
also
Neptunians.
the Fountain of Aging. One of the doctors the professor saw was a
That's right.
female
Yeah, yeah.
one,
But
and
she's
she
also
was
not holding any
she's also not holding
hands.
hands.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's probably just some kind of coping mechanism because I think when you saw the two with the kids, even the kids were holding hands or something like that. I'd have to double check.
Like they're
But
twins or something. Yeah. So
yeah,
and
like
the parents are both there holding hands, holding their kids, holding hands, right? So
or
it's like
yeah,
it's part of their system.
we,
Yeah.
we don't know if they're parents to each other or if they're just kind of like this
Or they're the
person
part. Right.
you're signed with them at the same time at birth or something like that. Like
Right.
you're just,
Yeah.
you're not actual literal twins, but you're like twins for life kind of thing.
That's right. So maybe it's a dependency thing. Maybe they need to have a buddy because it's so dangerous in their working environment.
Probably
Because
that one.
Santa
We'll go with
Claus,
that one.
could be
That
the
one
case.
sounds way better.
Well, we see why. So because they're in like this little Christmas village thing with like the gingerbread houses and the factory, but then Santa happens to live in like a fortress on top of an ice mountain, and there's like all these like precautions. So they convince a couple of these Neptunians to sneak them in because they're going to go and try either to defeat Santa or convince him or do something. And they go through.
I do love this little sequence, yeah.
I do too.
Where
actually.
they go through like barbed wire. There's like
Barbed
you must
wire,
you can only be this tall to
military
enter.
weapons. Yeah, you must be like the elf's height to enter because they're smaller,
There's a
so they have to be
buzzsaw.
stuck in. Yeah, so they're being pushed in a cart for the delivery. So pretending to be their own
Santa,
delivery.
the letters for Santa.
That's right. And then they go through. I love the barking dogs. that are
Yeah,
barking,
John DiMaggio.
and
Bark,
Billy
bark,
West,
bark.
I think. Yeah, what are they barking? Jingle
Jingle
bells.
bells. Yeah.
Yeah, bark, 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 bark. Yeah, it's actually really clever. And then they have like the little height. You must be this high or whatever to get in. Anyway, we go in and we're introduced or reintroduced. This time though, not played by John Goodman. He's now
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably this.
Yeah,
I love John Goodman's voice. He's great.
He is great, and it's
He's a great
unfortunate
voice
that he
actor.
didn't come back. But John DiMaggio does very, very well with
Wow.
the Santa Claus. And
Let me see. This would be what 2003, 4ish.
Yeah.
So this probably would have been after Disney got a hold of him for two wonderful movies. One of my favorites, Monsters Incorporated, which he played Sully.
oh, for Pixar,
Sullivan,
yep.
right? Yeah.
And
So
also
that would have upped
for-
his price. And
yeah.
the one where he turns into a llama, the
the
David Spade
Emperor's
turns into
New
a llama
Groove.
stuff.
Yeah.
Emperor's New Groove, which
Yeah,
he played
with Pacha.
Pacha.
That's
So
right.
I think Jungle Book 2 might have snagged him in as like a contract thing or something like that. So he had just gotten thrust into like he's the guy to hire for a voice thing for that. So he probably cost too much for a guest star on a show like this.
Right. And
That's
also,
my
I guess
thinking.
'cause and also because those movies, as you mentioned, are all mostly owned by Disney. If not all of them are owned by Disney. Whereas at this time, Fox was separate, right?
Yeah.
20th Century Fox was owned Futurama, so maybe they also had some kind of situation with that, or maybe because he was in all three of those films and he was voicing, maybe they just didn't have the time.
Yeah,
right?
Like Futurama too. Yeah.
Don't forget, Futurama is also working. Like Matt Groening is worth quite a bit as well. Like he has Simpsons money too. Like they easily could have got
at this point, yeah, he's probably close to the height of Simpsons money.
It's 13 years in. If it's 2002, it's 13 years in. So, any case, they probably could have got John Goodman. I'm betting he was probably either busy or he's just like,
cost too much.
It's okay.
Or didn't want to do it. Yeah, there's a multitude of reasons, but I like that he was just probably too busy. Yeah.
But I don't think they had any issue with him because John DiMaggio does kind of like play that version of the voice. Like he does his best to kind of copy it, right? So it works out. But in any case, yes, we're shown Santa again from way before. He is robot, all this stuff. He's watching his computer and he's watching what is it, Johnny Mousepad and Clamps, and he's like they're beating somebody for extortion money. And he says, oh, they're very naughty. And then the guy who doesn't pay them is also equally as naughty. So neither of them are on the nice list for this. I
do like that,
yeah. Yeah, it's evil Santa. It's all good. So anyway, the elves bring the package in, obviously, with the trio. And Santa sees and like dismisses the elves rudely, and they run away. Any case, Leela has the idea, okay, we're going to try and trick Santa to knock him out with a paradox. And so she does this logical paradox because he's a robot. And she does it. It's like, oh, because you're evil. Everybody you judge is naughty, you destroy. But you're naughty, therefore you should destroy yourself and whatever. Blows up his head. But then it turns out that Santa has some kind of logical paradox programming machinery inside his body. So his head pops back up and he's like, haha, no problem. So he attacks them with missiles and they run away. And this is like a fun little chase scene. So we get to see more of like what his fortress looks like. And they get outside.
Like a Solitude.
Yeah. There's like an elevator or whatever that they're trying to get into. And there's like a missile that's in there. So, and again, they get out. In any case, they get out and they get to this toboggan. They get on the toboggan. The explosion from this missile that Santa blew up sends them shooting down the hill. They get to the ship. They're trying to take off, but Santa is at the bottom already, holding their ship from leaving. But unbeknownst to Santa, the exhaust melts the ground because it's all ice because they're on Neptune in the North Pole. Melts it enough that he sinks into it. Just his head is his head is still up, but the rest of his body is submerged, and it quickly freezes after the engines are turned off, thus trapping Santa. He can't move in solid ice. So they all come out. The elves come out. Everybody's like, "Yay! Santa's trapped. Like, we can work again. We can do this stuff again." And Fry at first wants to become Santa Claus, but they realize, oh no, there's no way that a human could do it. Only a robot could do it. And of course, the only robot there is Bender. So this becomes a Bender story, and Bender takes over as the new Santa Claus. So that's our first little portion there. Yeah. What do you think about this? Do you think having Bender,
Santa as my boss?
Well, I was just going to say having Bender be the Santa of this, like it's an interesting little concept, right? Like I wonder why they thought, is it because robot Santa's a robot, therefore the only robot they have available and their main characters are Bender, so they probably should use Bender for that.
Probably. It's just he's there. Like the next closest thing to robot is him. Yeah, that was only a close. None of the guards or anything like that for Santa Claus were robots. So yeah. Well, isn't it?
There's no other. Yeah.
Because we also meet other holiday icons in this, and we meet the.
Yes. We get one, which we'll talk about.
But they talk about another one, which does show up eventually.
Right.
Kwanzaa Bot, which is also a robot. So that's two right there. Two holiday beings that are robots. Yeah. So
and I wonder if it's because they're long lasting, because the other one that you're talking about is also like brought back
Hanukkah zombie.
Hanukkah zombie. But in any case, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's just because they have Bender, they have this idea. It's like, okay, what if we just try and make it this? And it kind of mixes all the characters, like the trio kind of together. So Bender's Santa, Fry is kind of like, oh, the person who wants to, make Xmas good again, this kind of thing. And then you have Leela, who's kind of just the one who kind of makes it happen, right? Like she's the one that tries to stop Santa and everything. So they kind of gets them all working. I like that. So in any case, the elves are very happy and they cheer and they get to go back to work. And there's a fun. You and I were talking about this off mic that the song is fine. It's not great. I was actually going to ask you this later as well. Out of all the Futurama songs, do you think this one is like, because there's not a lot, but there's a few now.
Hey, you're putting me on the spot, and all of a sudden now I can't think of anything.
Well, like we had, I mean, I don't really count the song from the first Christmas one. I don't count that one because that's basically just Santa Claus is coming to town, but they just changed the lyrics slightly. But this one feels original.
It's within it.
Okay, this one feels original. And then there's another one actually during the first movie, right? Bender's Big Score or whatever, when they're all hiding from Santa in like the alleyway and everything.
Right, I like that one. Yeah.
Right, and that one's actually really well done. So I don't know. I think this one is good. It's catchy, but I wouldn't say it's as good as the one.
Is it the first one they do? Because there's a couple ones where like the characters are making the noises and the sound effects for the Futurama theme song. I like that, but I wouldn't count that.
That hasn't happened yet, though, right? We haven't seen
really?
that.
I thought that was within the first couple of seasons.
We would have commented on it, right? Maybe we commented on another episode. I can't remember.
Maybe.
But whatever the case.
Is this the first song that they sing?
In the series?
Yeah.
No. The first. I mean, if you want to count songs in general, there's also the Slurm Factory, right?
Right. You're putting me on the spot, and it's just going in one ear and out the other because I know that they have them. I just can't think of what they are.
But I was thinking more so the Christmas songs. And so that includes.
No, I like the movie one then better. The movie one's my favorite. Yeah.
Because there's also the one with the 3-parter one in the Comedy Central run. That one I think has some, because there's one with
the Christmas episodes.
Yeah, the Christmas episode one it's a 3-parter one, right? So it has
that was with Hermes, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Hermes and with Kwanzaa. It's the Kwanzaa one. Yeah. And I thought that one was pretty good. But yeah, this one's okay. But the movie one I think is best. Yeah.
The movie one is best. Lars thinks I'm pretty. Cram it down and shut the hell up.
Right. So any case, this song is good. It's just talking with the elves saying like, okay, we're going to make our Christmas presents and we only have like a couple of hours to make several billion versions of like the same 16 toys or whatever. And Leela and Fry and Bender are all like mocking them and insulting them and trying to encourage them to work harder. But they do it, albeit not very well, but they do make several billion gifts. And Bender gets spray painted. He gets like the Santa hat to become like the red and white, as we all know. And as the rest of the elves decide to go and drink afterwards because they're happy that they're adequate enough, Bender takes the sleigh with, I think he only has 2 reindeer, right? Thrasher and Smasher
it was
something.
Probably easier to do that because for rendering purposes, because those are 3D models.
Oh, there you go. I thought they look slightly different than the actual animation, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, he takes that and he heads to Earth.
It's with the more characters you have in a scene, even if they're just there and they need slight movement and stuff like that, it's a lot of work to do, especially when you're doing cellophane stuff like at the time or the 3D rendering, which I don't know how they would do that.
For sure.
Programs, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah, of course, on the whatever programs they had for it, right? So Bender arrives on Earth and he goes to different homes and doing all these different homes. All the families attack him. Did you catch that the first house? That's the home of and the family of the veterinarian, or at least the model of the veterinarian. It's the same voice too, but
probably I don't. I missed it until you just said it, and I saw it. Yeah, there he is. There, yeah,
is the vet. Yeah, so he and his wife,
the one that said Nibbler was 3.
Yeah, 5 because
5. Sorry, 5.
Because what does he say? I'm a little woozy from a gazelle kick, but if he's like the common tree, it might be his age, which is
totally wrong. Yeah,
he's
3 bazillion years old, maybe 4 bazillion.
He's 8 years younger than the beginning of the universe. Was that right? Or 8 years older than the beginning of the universe? One of the two.
He's old.
Whatever the two.
Our species was a mere teenager already, or something like that. I can't remember.
And they're like prancing around and they're like, oh, right.
We are cute.
Yeah. So anyways, I like that. So you have that. Then the next one you have Petunia with a flamethrower. And yes, and this is where we get introduced to Kwanzaa, who's played by Coolio, who has, I guess, unfortunately passed away somewhat recently during the Hulu revival. So only a few months ago, or maybe even last year, when he participated in his last episode with Futurama as the Kwanzaa. But yeah, he has a fun little cameo here. I guess you want to call it a cameo. He's just here, and Kwanzaa is giving away books. This is probably one of my favorite jokes of the episode. But the book is literally just like these people on the cover, and it says, "What the hell is Kwanzaa?"
Yeah, they're just like, what is it?
What the hell is Kwanzaa? And then he says like, I've been giving these out for like 647 years, and he's like disappointed in himself. So I don't know. I thought that was funny. Kwanzaa quite funny with that. And we also get, in one of the newspapers. Is that before or after? It might be around this time though. We get mention firstly of the Hanukkah zombie, who doesn't make an appearance in this episode, but he does show up in the first movie, and he is indeed a zombie, played by Mark Hamill, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So back at HQ, everyone's getting into the Xmas spirit, right? We got eggnog baths. We got Leela talking to the professor to tell him like, oh, don't shoot Bender, because Bender is Santa. Don't shoot him, okay?
I do love this joke,
right?
Because the professor has that whole like, it's always things like, here's a setup, and he immediately does exactly the opposite, and you're always like, well, how's it gonna happen, right? And I love this. Now remember, Professor, that Bender is Santa, and he's just like, no, he just shoots him immediately as he comes down the chimney.
Professor, don't you remember what I said? He's like, no. just admits it now, and he even does it again later in the court scene. Like, the professor just carries around a shotgun for this episode. So so he forgets all this stuff, of course. So Bender, afterwards, he's sitting on a roof, and he's like looking through he crosses off the professor's name off like the naughty nice list or whatever, and he's totally dismayed. So instead, he's like, there's got to be an easier way. He's going to dump the gifts, the leftover gifts. And this is another one of those things you were just mentioning, right? Like, how is this going to play out? He walks by, and there's like looks like a little, not a dumpster, but like a little storage area that says Toys for Tots or something. Yeah, it's a thing for kids. And you think, oh yeah, you're just going to toss the bag of toys into that. But then the first thing he does is just dump them into the sewer. So Bender just gets rid of the toys and just gives them to the mutants, and one of them doesn't like them because it's
what's her name again? Is it Abigail or something like that?
No, I was gonna say Petunia, but Petunia's the older lady with the flamethrower. Oh, I can't remember what her name is. But yeah, if you find her name, but she says, this gives, like, she's holding up a Barbie doll or something. She's like, this is the wrong Violet. There we go. This is the wrong standard of. This gives off the wrong
beauty
standards of beauty or something, right? Yeah.
Barbie. It's Barbie from the 90s, I think, was probably one of the worst ones.
There was that argument at the time, right? That was a big thing at the time. So anyway, Bender decides to treat himself to doing a good job in his standards. So he sits down in an alleyway, starts drinking, to which the police, Earl and I'm forgetting his name. Smitty, thank you. Smitty and Earl find him sitting in the alleyway, and they arrest him. And this is where we see the newspaper saying like Santa Claus got arrested, and he's going to be in court because
the Hanukkah zombie's still alive.
The Hanukkah zombie's alive, and he's causing like chaos, like he's attacking people. So that's on the thing. So they're in a courthouse. So Santa, quote unquote Santa, or Bender, right, is being tried for crimes against humanity because, of course, over the past several hundred years. When was that? I'm trying to remember when, because I think they established in the previous Xmas Story episode, right, in season 2. Do you remember what year? Does he say like in 2208 or something?
2008-01. So 2801.
2801. Okay, it was like 200 years prior. So about 200 years, the robot company created this robot Santa to do this stuff, and because of time shenanigans, which we learn in the Hulu revival series, the Santa only does naughty people, or only attacks everyone because they're naughty. He thinks that they're naughty. So this Santa has done this for about 200 and some years. So all of the bad things that he's done are now being tried on Bender because they can't prove that he's not the evil Santa because he's also a robot. So they decide, like, okay, we're going to go and try and get the real Santa, bring him to Earth and show him off to that. We also, mind you, I'm sure you caught this, Mitchell, as well, is that when we have Bender going through, because He's being
The
sentenced
trial?
to death, right? The trial. Well, after the trial, like he's been sentenced as he's guilty. This is why they have to go save him. As he's walking through the jail cell, and he says like all these like evil robots that are also on death row or whatever. One robot says like tell the robot devil I'm coming, and this is the first instance we see the robot devil. Oh no, sorry, we have seen him before. We did see him, obviously. That was in the finale of season 1. I'm sorry, we did see him, but he's not played by Dan Castellaneta in this episode for whatever reason. I guess they couldn't get him for that either. So, any case, Leela and Fry get to the Neptune again, and due to the fact that the factory has been working and all this stuff has been going on, it's caused a kind of a greenhouse effect and has made the area quite warm. So the elves are kind of wearing like shorts and t-shirts and all this stuff. And as they pull out the evil Santa, the real Santa, to try and get him onto the ship to bring him for testimony, the ice melts and Santa gets freed, making havoc again, causing everything he's trying to kill them. So Leela and Fry escape, and they're still like, okay, we got to figure out how to save Bender. But unbeknownst to them, Santa has stowed away on top of their ship this time, and he's flying into, because he's a robot, he can survive in space. He's flying to Earth with them. So Leela and Fry, they enter this, and they're going to try and still rescue Bender, right? So as Bender is about to be executed, Leela and crew bust in, and oh, by the way, he's going to be like, what does Puppenmeyer say? Like the mayor, because he's also the executioner in this. He says like, we're going to make this the most humane way of killing you, and it's like 2 giant magnets that are going to rip him apart, right? Because he's a robot, and he's like, that doesn't sound humane. And it's like, yeah, but it's like, that doesn't sound humane. It's like, oh, it's humane for the audience because it's not boring. So it's not about the robots in this case, it's about the people watching it. So in any case, the crew show up to save Bender, and a few of them pretend to be Santa Claus because, oh yeah, we're Santa. So if we all say we're Santa, you cannot kill this one because you could be killing the wrong person. But Puppenmeyer figures out, look, obviously he is the Santa because you guys are not robots. So,
yeah, the one time where the mayor's smart.
Yeah, exactly.
And logical.
So even though he's using this random countdown simulator thing or whatever to like,
I thought that was hilarious because it keeps the audience like intrigued
and like on the tips of their toes.
It's a 2-number random generator. Once we get down to 0, then we pull the switch.
We ignite it. Yeah. It's like 27, 3, 52, 3 again, -8. Like there's all numbers. And then as soon as that he says that, he's like, oh, hey, a 0. Like he's surprised that it finally happened. So he ignites the switch. The magnets start. We get a nice callback again to Bender's, that wants to be a folk singer. So the magnets start making him start singing a folk song. And I do like the professor's line of like, oh, at least it's not boring as it's starting to rip apart. But wouldn't you know it, the person who comes in and saves Bender is the Santa Claus, is the real Santa Claus. He breaks in, he destroys the magnets and all this stuff, and he asks Bender to help him cause mischief because he needs help, because that's basically what Xmas has become in the future. A time for everybody to be with their families because you may not ever see them again because Santa might kill them. And Santa has figured this out as like the reasoning for everybody for him to do the stuff that he does. So it's not necessarily just about causing mischief because everybody's naughty. It's also like, that's just the new season. That's the reason for the season now. So
I also do like this joke too with Fry says, no, Bender, don't do it. He's evil. And then the Santa Claus is like, I know he's evil, but I need help.
Yeah, I have no choice.
Come on, Bender, won't you please guide my sleigh tonight?
Join my slaying tonight. Right?
Sorry, my slaying. Right, sorry.
There's a lot of little puns in this. Yeah, I like that. So Bender agrees to it, and they have a fun time destroying mailboxes, throwing... That's probably my favorite scene, actually. They chuck another bike at the girl who asked not to have another bike.
Well, it got ruined by how fast and hard he chucked it last season, so he needs to get a new one.
She needs to get a new one. But I love that if we never saw that scene of them reading that letter, that joke would make no context. It would have no context. Now it does, and I just love that. I love that continuity of the episode. I love how that comes full circle. So they do that. I think they throw like bomb toys in places and destroy things. They blow up like a diaper truck and all this stuff. Scruffy's there briefly. Oh, I think Scruffy was on his naughty thing or whatever as well.
Yeah, because he picked his nose slightly.
He's like, I saw that. So they all in there. And yeah, you see the next scene we see with the crew, and they're all huddled together, and there's no power or heat, and they're all just sharing in the comfort of each other's company as they huddle in fear. And it's actually quite sweet, and that's kind of like, you know, the whole thing that I mentioned before. And finally, we have at the very end, Santa gives a present to Bender, saying like, here you go, Bender. Here's my gift to you for a job well done of being me for Christmas or whatever. And so Bender opens it, and it's empty. And of course, this is a message from Santa saying like, do this again, and I'm going to kill you next time, kind of thing. And he pushes him off the sleigh, and the episode ends with Bender falling into the fiery, destroyed city of New York, and Santa saying ho 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 and flying away on his sleigh. And that's a tale of two Santas. So yeah, right off the bat, because in the original series we only get these two Christmas episodes, right? Which one do you prefer? And why?
What was the first one again? Where Fry figures out who Santa Claus is, right?
He's trying to get a gift for Leela and such. Yeah.
I think I like that one better. It's a little more heartfelt, and it's more like character, like the original three kind of growing. This one's just, it's a fun mayhem one with you get a bit of story, you get a bit of story, and then you get a bit more story kind of thing. Yeah. It's nice and lovely, but the first one had more heart to it.
Sure. I think the first one kind of establishes more about what it is about it, because at that time Fry is still very much like the fish out of water character, right? He hasn't quite got used to it. This one, though, I do appreciate we learn more about Santa. Like we learn more about like where Santa comes from. We see his elves. We see like how the whole system works, this kind of thing. I do appreciate the lore building of it, but I agree. I think the first Christmas episode is probably my favorite. But yeah, so what do you feel then, Mitchell? Your MVP for MVP, your favorite scene, favorite joke. I've already told you my favorite joke, and I think my favorite scene. What would you say?
The professor has great one-liners here. I do love the fact when they're all coming in as like, no, I'm Santa Claus, no, I'm Santa Claus, and then Zoidberg comes dressed up as Jesus, and Jesus. I'm Jesus. Yeah. And then the mayor, when they're getting attacked by Santa Claus, quick, save us, Jesus, and then Zoidberg says, I help those who help themselves, and then runs away.
I also like his line like, how dare you guys all lie in front of Jesus? So I did like that as well. I thought that was pretty funny.
I do like the professor and like the joke with like, Professor, don't you remember us telling you? No.
Yes. He shoots him again. Oh yeah, in the courthouse, and he's like, there he is again, and he shoots him again. That is pretty good. I also did love.
MVP would
this.
Probably be Bender though for me.
Here you go, Bender. Okay. I was just going to mention as well, just a small side, not my MVP, Please. But a small side is the I love seeing the lawyer chicken.
Oh yes, right.
I love the lawyer chicken, man. Like he's so, and even so that's the girl. Oh yeah, right, because we see that girl. That's the second time we see her, because she's from the letter, and then here she is testifying against him.
A bicycle again.
And then the rooster has like this whole thing like, oh, now I know it's a little scary up there in that box, but there's nothing to be afraid of. And then he attacks her. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you was corn. Like, I don't know why. It brings a smile to my face. That's one of my favorite lines.
All he does is just say, "Now will you please point to that said robot over there?" And she points, "Enough said there, counselor." And then he goes and opens up his briefcase, which has his children, little chicken. Yeah. Daddy did good, don't he? Yeah.
And then afterwards he disappears because the sun's rising, so he's on top like. What is that? Yeah, at the sun or whatever, the rising sun. As
Maurice LaMarche, she does a good job. Also, he was the voice of the robot Bender, the robot devil in this episode.
Okay, he took over for just the one
episode. Just for that one line. Just
very
for that
fine
one line.
Line, yeah. And very fine sign.
I looked up quickly, and the only reason was just because Dan Castellaneta got really popular as Homer at this point. This was like 2001, so yeah, this would have been kind of close to the peak of Simpsons there, so he was probably too busy or would have cost too much. So it could be any of the reasons that we said with John Goodman.
So what I was going to say as well is that also during this time, The Simpsons also to do their Christmas specials around that time as well, right?
Yeah.
So easily could have been because I'm sure Homer's a main character in most of those episodes. I'm sure he was probably pretty busy. Even despite the fact that maybe their studios are actually right next to each other.
Yeah, same production, it's the same production company and all that stuff too. They could have just, okay, Dan, we just need you to just do this one line. I heard him in the Robot Devil. That's all they had to do. But
that's true. Yeah, whatever.
Contracts are such a weird thing in Hollywood.
It's one line, and he sounds enough like him you can get by with. I heard him. Like he just does that kind of line, right? It's
Maurice LaMarche does a good job.
He's good enough.
Here's a fun fact for the audience, for us. Anthony and I, we went to our Calgary Expo here one year, and we got to see him talk. And just somewhere along the line, or something like that, someone asked him, "Were you the one that did the burp in the Christmas movie Elf? You know, where Buddy chugs down a whole thing of Coca-Cola and does like that 30-second burp." He's like, "Yes, and I get a lovely little royalty check of like $2,000 every year." So that burp in Elf is Morbo.
Right. And and so for Dan Castellaneta to do that one line of the Robot Devil, he'd get the royalties of that one line. Should ever be played whenever, sure. Yeah. But that is Dan Castellaneta's character. Like you can't think of one without the other. But that one scene, Maurice LaMarche. But yeah, he's perfectly fine.
Side note. Was the Robot Devil in any of the new episodes of the at all? Not the first.
He's in Comedy Central. He's not in Hulu yet, as far as I remember. You know what? No, because we just did the Hulu run. Out of all those 20 episodes, no. And honestly,
there we go. Honestly, there's the biggest mistake. Yep.
Well, actually, I was just gonna say I'm glad they didn't, because they would have ruined him. They probably would have ruined him.
Probably.
And like honestly, if they did like, Robot Devil gets like, I don't know, a sex change. Like I would have been, and you know what? Actually, I'd be okay with that as long as it's Julie Kavner, the woman who plays Marge Simpson.
That would be funny. That'd be funny.
That would be okay with me. But if it's not that, then I'm like, oh come on. But in any case, that didn't happen.
There could be our Christmas wish for Futurama is to have him in the new season.
Absolutely, I would hope that as well. I mentioned my favorite scene, my favorite joke.
Who's your MVP? I like the Santa Claus, but I'm just gonna go with Bender because he looks funny in the red, and like I think every so often whenever I see like those like collectibles of like Futurama little figurines and stuff like that, I do have the blue Zoidberg as well as the regular Zoidberg for one of them. Right. I think the Funko Pop Zoidberg.
Oh man,
and it's hard to. I like the Christmas one.
Yeah, it's honestly hard for me to say for it because there's a lot of lines of like the side characters of the episode that I really do enjoy. Like I really like the lawyer Rooster. I liked Santa.
You could just say the tertiary characters are your MVP this round.
They're a lot of them are. Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
They'll have great little one-liners and stuff like that. The two little kids.
Yeah.
The mayor, the chicken lawyer.
Pooping liars is pretty good. You know what? No, I'll copy you for this one. I'll also say Bender. I think Bender is because he's. Not only is he like the main focus of it, but I think he does have a lot of really good lines in it as well, and it is central to that. So I think Bender's worth this one for me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to say what the driving force other than the story. Like there was no character driving force like the other ones were. Like the first Christmas one was Fry. This one was just kind of just them doing the adventure, and they're just why don't you just fill in the spot? Yeah, okay. Cool. It wasn't like Bender had like why can't I be nice to people or something like that, or I hate people but I want to be nice to them.
We know what's strange about that because you're right. In the first one, the driving force is definitely Fry because he's out there. He accidentally upsets Leela, or she's really upset because she's an orphan, all this kind of stuff, and then he goes and tries to console her with buying her a gift and all that fun stuff. But that's kind of the whole portion of it. And Santa Claus is just like the evil entity in the background. This time, funny enough, it does start with Fry because he's the one that initiates the conversation of like, I wish Xmas was as good as it was back in my day. But then it's Leela that takes over and gets Santa Claus trapped and like attacking them and all that kind of stuff. But it's Bender who then, takes over as Santa Claus. And the rest of the episode is Bender. So it's kind of like a mixed bag in that case. Maybe that's why we prefer the first one because it seems more coherent.
Yeah, it's a character-based thing, and it's like you're like, I'd feel bad or guilty or empathetic, whatever the word I'm looking for is, for Leela too, because I didn't realize that she was having a bad time like me. I'll try and make her feel better, which will make me feel better. This one was just like, Santa Claus.
Right, and it's still the Futurama jokes and everything in the first one. So, but this one's not obviously not a bad episode. It's more jokey than it is story driven, we'll say.
Yeah,
It's more
and
elements of
that's
that.
fine.
And that's fine. That's perfectly
like
fine.
it,
Yeah.
but the storyline makes sense. It's not all over the place.
No, God, no. No,
Yeah, I think we agree. It's
yeah.
quite linear. It doesn't really quite hop.
No,
Yeah,
it's a very easy to follow
It's very
story.
joke based with a lovely simple story. It's not stupid story. It's nice. It's a good solid episode. I remember right at the beginning of this, I'm like, I watched this twice now, and I don't really have any comments about it just because it's just a nice, lovely, solid episode. There's nothing amazing. There's nothing terrible. It's just a lovely episode.
If the first Christmas episode was like, maybe we could say like an 8 out of 10, would you say this is like a 7 out of 10?
Yeah.
Like pretty solid average.
It's solid. Yeah.
Solid.
I would say
episode.
like I said, it's not an amazing episode. It's not terrible. It's a good episode. It's a good episode.
Fair enough. Cool, man. And that does it here for us today for A Tale of Two Santas. Anything left to say about the episode, Mitch?
I honestly no. I've watched it 3 times now, or like last 2 weeks. Nothing animation wise to say about it. Designs, no. They did have some 3D stuff in here. This was like 2001, so it's very basic stuff.
Sure. Yeah. Right then. Well, thanks again, Mitchell, for joining me, and thank you everybody for listening. And
Merry Christmas
to this episode. Yeah, Merry Christmas,
or Happy Holidays if you're one of those anti-Christmas people. In which case, Happy Holidays.
Or maybe you don't celebrate Christmas, Mitchell. Don't be like that.
No.
In any case, happy holidays, no matter what. And join us next time. We're going to have a bit of a unique episode, actually. This is going to be for Anthology of Interest number 2, episode 3 of season 4. So to see that, please like and subscribe and join us next time. Toodaloo, Mitchell.
Toodaloo.